My name is Larry Goldhirsch, and I played basketball for City College. I was 8 years old in 1950 when City won the NCAA and the NIT. I don't remember that. I started going to the NIT with my father in 1951 when St. Francis College of Brooklyn was the finalist in the tournament. So I want to tell you a few things about City College and basketball, which I never dreamt I would discuss tonight at this reunion. Being in the class of '63, I knew when I was at Taft High School, and I had never played in high school, that there was only one place I was going to end up, and that was City College. I couldn't afford to go to any other school. And I knew I had a chance of making the team because I was a pretty good player, but I just couldn't do it at Taft. And I was a pretty smart kid at Taft High School. And so, since I was interested in the theory of relativity, I decided I would go to City and maybe major in physics. I'm not sure there were many majors in physics who were basketball players at the time. But I now know that I was the only physics major that played basketball. And I don't know that there were any in between 1959, when I entered, and today. So I just want to tell you a few things and correct the record about basketball, since this group has been told a little bit about the basketball team. I played against all of the players and with all of the players that won the NCAA and the NIT. And the first thing I would like to correct is that the NIT and the NCAA were played at different times in 1950. They both played in the spring. And when City College won the NIT and then beat Bradley again in the NCAA decided this is not a good thing. We have to stop one team from being the tournament champion in both. And so the NCAA decided to run that tournament at the same time as the NIT in the spring. And it was only later that the NIT began to play in the fall. But to this day, the NIT and the NCAA have played at different times because City College won both in 1950. And so in 1959, I went to gym the first time, and the gym instructor introduced my teacher, who was Nat Holman, my gym teacher. Now, I knew I had heard of Nat Holman. For those of you who don't know, Nat Holman was one of the original Celtics basketball players back in the 30s, maybe the 20s. And while he was a professional basketball player, he was asked to also coach the City College team. And for the next 40-some-odd years, he coached the City College team until approximately 1960, when he retired. And he won the NCAA in 1950 and won the NIT in 1950. And as you heard, in 1951, there was a point shaving scandal. And he didn't retire, but he fought for his position because he was relieved of his post. And 2 years later, he got it back because he had no influence on the students that had, the team players that had shaved the points. And so when I entered the gym in 1959, Nat Holman saw me playing in the intramural, and thinking I was one of the gym students, I had red hair at the time, came over to me and said, "Son, I saw you play last year, and you're going to be a good player for us." Well, I was only a freshman, so he couldn't have seen me play last year. And I didn't play for Taft. And he certainly didn't come to Mullally Playground on Jerome Avenue to see me play. So I was wondering, what the hell is he talking about? Well, it turned out there was a redheaded player on the freshman team named Paulson, whose brother went to Manhattan. He was a big-time basketball player at Manhattan College. And he thought I was Bobby Paulson. And so I had to tell him, I think you're mistaken. He said, oh, I know a good player when I see him. And it turned out, of course, that I played freshman ball with Dave Polanski, who went on to coach for many years at City. In any event, I think it's very interesting that the issue of basketball has come up tonight, because it has not come up in the past 50 years at any of the reunions that I've been to, except maybe for the Varsity Alumni Association. And I do want to tell you, and I do intend to write to President Koiko, since tonight is a basketball night in some respects, that in every school where there has been a good basketball team, the following years have had applications of the better students. Now, that is not a good reason to go to a school, a basketball team. But for some reason, when there's a good basketball team, the good students follow the school, and the best example probably is Notre Dame, who has good football teams and basketball teams. And I hate to say it, and I'm almost embarrassed to think it, but the money follows the basketball teams, and the money follows the football teams. And the reason that City College was such a great team, and why basketball players in the local high schools went to City College, and St. John's, and NYU, and St. Francis, was because Madison Square Garden would invite the local teams to play in Madison Square Garden. And if you were a kid growing up and you went to Taft or Clinton or George Washington, you wanted to play in Madison Square Garden. So these are issues perhaps that the school might think about in the future, but I leave you with this thought as I step down tonight. I wasn't a very good basketball player. And I was a... But the proudest thing I ever did was to go to City College and major in physics and get my degree, and go to City College and play basketball, even though I had the lowest average in the physics class graduating in 1963, and the lowest average on the basketball team in 1963. But I had the highest average basketball shooting in the physics class. And I had the highest average in physics on the basketball team. Thank you very much.